Are you an independent author with an incredible story to share? Are you afraid your book will get lost in a sea of books? True Vine Publishing Company can help you stand out. We're not just a publishing service, we're your partner in success. We provide personalized marketing strategies and eye-catching covers that will captivate your audience. We will build your author platform and connect with your readers. We have helped countless authors achieve success, and we can help you too. Break free from the shadows, take control of your publishing journey, and make your mark. Visit TrueVinePublishing.com or call 615-44-BOOKS to schedule a consultation.
Hello, this is Timothy Bond with True Vine Publishing Company, and you're watching the next episode of The Right Change, where our guest today is Erika McLaurin, author of The Beatitudes and Effective Leadership, Volume 2. Evangelist McLaurin, how are you today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you so much for having me on The Right Change.
Absolutely.
I'm quite excited about this interview with you. So
good, and I'm excited as well to get the word out about you, your books, and what you're doing in the field of like leadership management through
absolutely
biblical concepts, business. I mean, you're really doing some big things. So I'm excited to share. First of all, I want to thank you as well. You have co-authored a book with my pastor, Bishop Jerry L. Maynard.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you both for allowing me the opportunity to be a part of that vision. So I'm excited to talk about that as well as your other book, The Beatitudes. So first I want to do is I want to open the door so you can introduce yourself to the world and to the Right Change audience. Tell a little bit about who you are. Who is Erika McLaurin?
Okay, well, thank you so much, Tim. You know, when you say talk about yourself, you know, it's like, okay, where do I go with this? But my name is Erika McLaurin. I am a native of Gary, Indiana. I'm a mother of two beautiful daughters. I carry a bachelor's in communications, a master's in pastoral care and counseling, as well as urban ministry. And so one of the things, Tim, is that at my former church, and actually as I think back over my life, I've always been drawn to some form of leadership. And that is kind of the purposes of the books that I have begun to write on. And they're led more towards helping leaders to grow and to mature, to evolve, to empower them. And so I am quite excited. At my former church, I was the pastor of operations, which had me over 66 leaders. I now at Cathedral of Praise under Bishop Maynard, I am the Empowerment Institute director, as well as the Leadership Conference. And so part of my book, as well as what I do right now, is to make sure we bring relevant topics and training to help to empower leaders. And so that's kind of where I'm at now in life, is I'm doing individual training with leaders, as well as some in groups, working with the church, as well as in private. And so my experience for the book writing has pretty much come from my experience as a leader. So that's I think that's a little bit about me.
Okay.
I will say, when I wrote my first book, I did not realize how challenging it was to write a book. I have wrote many papers in college, and getting my master's. About a year and a half away from my doctorate in leadership, and you write papers all the time, but it's not until you decide to write a book you're like, oh my, it's a bit much. And so I am happy to have conquered at least that part of my fears. And so
and you've done a good job clearly working on multiple books. I have a question for you concerning this. Leaders training leaders. Okay.
Yes.
I would assume that leaders are mostly, or could be mostly, type A personalities, alpha. What is your experience in going in and training leaders? Do you get resistance? Is it more welcoming because leaders understand leadership and training? What's been your experience?
I think there's a mixture there because when you go in, it depends on what material that you really want to present to them. So
Mhm.
no matter where you go, you're always going to have some resistance because you'll always have those type A leaders that say, "Oh, I know this already."
Mhm.
But then you find you have a group of leaders who are eager to learn. They
Mhm.
are eager to advance their careers. Some will admit, I've went this far and now I'm stuck. How do I continue to move forward? Well, what I found out in my training, I try to focus more towards those leaders. And if you make it interactive, the type A leaders eventually join in because they want to be a part. They want to give their advice. They want to give some value. So for me, it's quite exciting because as leaders, we all have different experiences and we bring it all to the table. Now, understand when we're training leaders, I'm a facilitator. I put things out, I give them some concepts, but one of the things I love the most is you turn around and you say, "Okay, now tell me about your experience. Who
Mhm.
has done this? What worked for you and what did not work for you?" And so then you get to take the concepts that you've shared with them and you get to dispel myths. Well, I heard that if you do it this way, well, let's look at that. What are some of the benefits of doing it that way, but also what are some of the disadvantages? And so I am finding out when you are training leaders, you have a sector that is hungry for doing more. You have a sector that says, "Hey, I want to advance myself. I want to enhance my skills." And so you really try to focus in on how do I do that? The second thing to that is I don't go in with a preconceived notion of what they need or what they want.
Mhm.
I try to listen to why are you here? What do you want to get out of this? Yes, I have prepared material, but now I get to structure my training to make sure I meet those obligational needs. And so I have enjoyed training leaders. Again, many of them want to grow and many of them want to be empowered and advanced. And as you're giving additional instructions and giving them some additional tools, you find out that they're very receptive and they're like, "Okay, I never thought about it from that way." Manner. And it's like, yeah, let's look at it from this perspective and see how that works.
Mhm.
So that has been my experience with training leaders. Mhm.
Now, your focus, am I correct? Your focus has been leadership within the church, or is it just leadership, period?
I've been honest with you, my focus is really church leadership. Uh,
Okay.
I can do corporate leadership, I can, but my desire and my heart is towards the church. I
Mhm.
believe that if we build kingdom leaders strong, that we change the world outside of us.
Mhm.
So if I can train church leaders who then go to their outside jobs and give them the kingdom principles, then guess what? They begin to apply the principles on their job.
Yeah.
So my heart has really always been church leadership. And also, I like putting it in a biblical perspective. We are kingdom leaders, and we have a code of ethics that we have a code of ethics that we follow, and that is the Bible. And so, if I can relate that into what you're not doing this for yourself, but every job you do it unto the Lord and for Him to be glorified. Guess what? As a kingdom leader, I now get the chance to change other areas of your life. Um, if I can change your perspective as a kingdom leader, it changes your household.
Mhm.
It changes how you deal with your business partners. It changes how you react to different situations. So my draw, Tim, has always, up to this point, has been the church leadership.
Mhm.
Now, however, I have done corporate leadership and I have done one-on-one individual training with leaders that was not from a biblical perspective. But in the back of my mind, I'm always going from a biblical perspective because it's the principles that we stand on of ethics. And so, yes, I am drawn to the church, but yes, I have also done outside the church.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this: within the church, what has been one of the biggest challenges for church leadership?
I think the most difficult is sometime with the head leader, which is your pastor, your bishop, your thing of that sort. My challenge has been trying to introduce new methods and concepts. So we've done it like this, and we've always done it in this manner. Well, that's great. But here we are in a place where your members want to go further. Your members want to be challenged. They want to grow. And so I think that my biggest challenge has been trying to introduce new concepts to senior leadership that also that does not make them feel as if the methods that they had have been ineffective.
Most people, when you write a book, it comes from experiencing, of course, your experiences, but also a culmination of questions and challenges that you have had to help people go through. And then you realize, I should just write a book and I don't have to answer these questions. So let's go into the Beatitudes. What was the motivation and the message of the Beatitudes book?
Okay. So I'm happy you asked about that. One of the things for me when I first started in ministry training and in leadership training is I was looking around at leaders who were saying that I'm a leader, I'm this and I'm that, but with no training background. And so you would ask them, okay, so, what do you think about this and how you do this? And they will look at me with eyes like, what are you talking about? Like I was some foreign creature. But in reality, in my Beatitude books, it talks about let me just go into the Beatitude books. So in the Beatitudes, we find that it's the Sermon on the Mount with Jesus. And so Jesus gives them a set of principles. But when you really look at it, he calls his disciples and he says, come go with me. And he begins to talk to them. He begins to teach them necessary lessons that they will need. Because it's like anything else. Walking with Jesus brought influence. And so there were some things that they were going to be challenged with. There was going to be some things that they would experience that the average person would not. And I'll give you an example. It's like if you're traveling with the president, you are exposed on a different level of influence. And guess what? Everyone wants to know you. Everyone wants to be around you. So sometimes your leader will say, hey, let me give you some principles that is going to help you walk through this experience with me. And that is one of the things that, that was one of the things that I believe that Jesus was doing to his disciples. And so each beatitude led me to talk about, where does that fit into our leadership? I was sitting at Joyce Meyer's conference one night, and I really heard the Lord say, we're going to do a book on the Beatitudes. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with the conference I'm at? Well, the Lord began to share with me that we're going to now talk about the characteristics and the attitudes of a kingdom leader. So, Tim, when the world says that we are successful, we say that I have a house, I have a car, I have money, but that is not kingdom success. According to God, kingdom success is the transformation of lives, bringing people into a revelation of who they are and who they are with Christ. So with that being the case, when I begin to write the Beatitudes, I begin to look at every Beatitude from the eyesight of a leader. I'm going to give you an example. Let's look at one of them. Matthew 5:3. It said, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now understand, the meaning of poor in spirit had nothing to do with a person's finances. Nothing to do with that. These were people who were totally dedicated to the Lord by humbling themselves, repenting of their sin, and realizing that I am nothing without God. So you may say to me, Tim, Erica, what what does that actually mean? Well, this is what it means. As a leader, it meant me emptying myself out to God. One of the quotes I use in the book says, inner emptiness is a door to God. Why is our door to God? Because the more I empty out Erica's ambitions, Erica's desires, the things that Erica wants, and I allow God to pour into me his ambitions, his dreams, and his desires, guess what happens? I become more of what God really wanted me to be. And so the whole concept is, if I will empty myself out and allow God to pour in, then guess what? I now become who he wants me to be. Um, I'm going to share one more with you because this is the one that I have patterned myself after. A little bit more. This is one of my favorite chapters of the book, and it's called Grieve for Change. It's
Mhm.
the second beatitude. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted.
Mhm.
Well, when we think about mourning, we think about death. But mourning is something you long for, something that's missing. It's like this missing piece in you. So
Mhm.
what do? You mourn, you long for it. Well, blessed are those who mourn for who they are to become. Blessed are those who are mourning to become the person that God has called them to be. Well, they shall be comfort. So I ask leaders all the time, who are you?
Mhm.
And they're like, well, I'm this. And I'm like, no, but who are you? Who are you created? There's a quote I use in a book that says that we all were created to do something. We were all created to solve a problem. What's your problem?
Mhm.
So the question is, what makes you cry at night? What keeps you up at night? What grieves you? What makes you angry? Well, in the book, we talk about, if you will research that, you will typically find out what your calling is.
Mhm.
For me, it was the lack of training of ministers and leaders that propelled me into what I'm doing right now. And so the Beatitudes book, it goes from that perspective. It takes each principle of each one of those and say, hey, from a leader's perspective, how does the Beatitudes play into that?
Mhm.
There's one that's later on in the book called Strengthen for Opposition. Well, guess what? Any one of us know as leaders, and we found them all through the Bible, that as leaders, when they stood for something, opposition came. We were built for that. When God called us into the role of leadership that we're supposed to play, there's a mechanism in us that prepares us to stand in the midst of opposition.
Mhm.
What did God tell you to do? God called me to do this. Then you stand on that until it's completed, until you have walked in it. You will always find naysayers. You will always find people who say, well, do you really believe that? I'm like, yes. When I first started leadership teaching and writing a book, one of my leaders said to me, she says, Erica, do you really want to do that? She said, there's so many leadership trainers out there. The field is crowded. And for a minute, Tim, I began to backtrack. I was like,
Mhm.
well, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't.
Mhm.
But then I had to go back. What did God say to me?
Mhm.
One. And two, what is my heart grieving for? What do I see in the world that I feel is a problem that I was created to solve? And so so that's kind of what the Beatitudes book is about. It takes the different Beatitudes and they apply them to leadership principles.
Awesome. And then before we get off here, I do want to take a couple of minutes on this new book, and it
Yes.
is Effective Leadership Volume 2,
Yes.
where you and Bishop Maynard came together, joined forces, and really enhanced that first book. Tell us about a little bit about that book and how that co-writing collaboration came about.
Well, I'm very honest with you, Tim. I'm really excited about the new book, the Effective Leadership. Um, it it is a book that me and Bishop Maynard wrote, and it's quite exciting how we collaborated together. We brought ideals together. Um, And what I would say is that it was a privilege working with Bishop Maynard.
Mhm.
I've never really worked on a collaboration in this manner. But the thing about it was this here is that we looked at the first book, and Bishop wanted to bring something more to it. He wanted to bring some more in-depthness to it. And so what we decided to do is look at leadership from two different sides.
Mhm.
Leadership is an organism and an organization. And so a lot of times when we're looking at leadership, we're looking at it from an organizational standpoint, but we're not looking at the people.
Mhm.
So you in leadership, you have to have both. You have to deal with the organism, which are your people. How do we build them? What is the cost of leadership? What is their calling? What is the characteristics of a good leadership, a good leader, which is dedication, and things of that matter. So what me and Bishop Maynard decided to do was said, let's look at both sides of the book. Let's look at how do we grow our leaders
Mhm.
first off, but then how do we help our leaders grow their organization?
Mhm.
And so that became very exciting for me and him because I look at things from the human side sometimes, and so I'm always looking at what can we do to enhance our leaders. Um, I, I I do look at it from also the business side as well because there's different things as a leader, especially a senior leader, that you must establish in your church.
Mhm.
So that was how we got started with that.
Mhm.
And I'm quite excited because even over this week, Tim, I have been rereading the book.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I've been rereading the book and really finding out just some nuggets, even for myself, that I even forgot about.
Mhm.
When we talk about leaders, helping them to find their calling. We give some tips in there about how do I find my calling. When we talk about the organizational side, we talk about delegation, we talk about SMART goals, some things that people don't really think about. Now, if you think about church sometimes, Tim, you can go into a church and sometimes tell some different characteristics about a church. I have met pastors who are solely focused on the people,
Mhm.
which is absolutely great. But they're not focused on growing the organization.
Mhm.
And that would be financial literacy. That would be SMART goals. How do I grow my leaders? A good thing, Tim, the finances. How do we handle finances? How do we do insurance? I mean, just the basic business side of it. Now, I've also been on the flip side of that. I have been to churches where they think more about the business than they do the
Right.
people, and the churches operate as a business, and the people are like, hey, what about us?
Right.
And so I think that's what's so great about me and Bishop Maynard's book is that we take them both.
Mhm.
We take a look at the people and how we grow them, but then we look at the organizational side. And so if you are a leader who is focused on the people, this book gives you the other side of how do I conduct the business of the church.
Mhm.
If you are a business pastor or senior leader, this book says, oh, wait a minute. Let me see, how do I focus on the people? And so
Mhm.
I really believe that the book me and Bishop Maynard put together is a great combination because it looks at leaders and leadership as a whole and
Mhm.
not in just parts.
That's awesome. I love it. You know, we could probably talk about this all day.
We could.
Our time is up, but this is important because there are a lot of leaders out there who probably need somebody like you in their lives, in their
Absolutely.
ministry. How can these leaders get in contact with you?
Okay, so one way they can get in contact with me is my email address, which is Erica, ERIKAMC 38 at iCloud.com.
Mhm.
Then, if they want to go into my website and learn more about me, Tim, they can go to www.themclaurin.com.
Okay.
And I can leave some of that information with you, Tim, as well later. But they can either go to the website or they can actually email me and I'll send them the necessary information that they may want. because
And
we are open right now. We have slots open if they want to come and do one-on-one, if they want to do group leadership, if they want to do group retreats. We have some slots open. So those are two ways that they can reach me.
awesome. And I think I might be putting you on the spot, but they can probably check you out on social media because you're starting to put out these amazing videos.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, I have started doing videos now, and I'm starting to try to do some more training videos and getting those out on social media. So yes, they can look up Erika McLaurin and maybe find some of the videos. But we are working on it, Tim. I got one video ready, and I'm still working on some others. But in the coming weeks, they'll be able to go out and see videos of
Yeah.
Erika McLaurin and leadership. So yes.
Right. And the one I saw is powerful, quick, brief, educational talk about focus. So definitely worth checking her out on social
Absolutely.
media. Evangelist, this has been a enjoyable and amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming out to share about your books.
Thank you, Tim, for having me. I have enjoyed myself, and I look forward to us doing other collaborations and other books, Tim. There are more books coming, so I look forward to working with you also on those books as well.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you.